What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Just watched Spike TV, Premier Boxing Champs Lara versus Rodriguez. Completely dominant performance, not much of a post-fight. Erislandy Lara just shitted on Delvin Rodriguez, but to me, those to be expected. On my post-fights, I give the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, it was a dominant, very sharp shooting performance. I think Lara landed like 63% of his punches. He did fight more aggressive than he normally does, and he just blew Delvin Rodriguez out of the water. He had a couple knockdowns, and it was very, very one-sided. Now, the bad would be this. Lara is very skillful, and I give him credit for fighting a more aggressive fight than he normally does. However, I think he needs to work on a few things like his killer instinct. I think he should have, like, you can't say he trumped Cotto's performance because Cotto stopped him. Cotto's a good boxer, and he stopped him in 3 rounds. I think he did better than Austin Trout, but the Austin Trout fight happened before the Cotto loss years ago. But he did do better than Austin Trout. Even though he was fighting more aggressive, he was still mindful of his defense, and he still wasn't getting touched. Now, obviously, being in there with a guy like Delvin Rodriguez, who's not a world beater, then that might have played some part, whereas a guy like a Canelo or Triple G might have been able to capitalize a little bit more offensively. But the biggest thing that's frustrating with Erislandy Lara that I've seen is he's so used to being this matador, if you will, that even though he tried something different, I think he has to learn when to turn it on and off. If you're fighting Canelo, you're fighting a Triple G, then I would understand if you don't want to take some of those unnecessary risks. But you're fighting Delvin Rodriguez, and after so many rounds, it was very apparent that he had nothing for you. He never looked hurt by Delvin's punches. He was dominating. He had knockdowns, and he's just content, like on cruise control, if you will. And I think in this particular instance, since he had nothing for you, you could have made an even bigger statement. And I really think, I don't even think it's his power is the issue. I think he has enough power to have at least piled it on and forced a TKO stoppage versus Delvin Rodriguez. But he's just so used to being in control, not taking too many risks, kind of that Cuban / amateurish style that people always like fault him for. And it's just like hit, da 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 da. So he did fight more aggressive, but again, I think he could work on picking and choosing when he's gonna put his foot on the pedal and then really amp it up. And I think he really could have forced a stoppage on Delvin Rodriguez. Just he had nothing for you. Canelo, Triple G, if you don't want to take some of those risks, I understand. That makes a bit more sense because Triple G is actually a really good counterpuncher, and that could come back to bite you. But he was dominating Delvin Rodriguez. I think he could have amped it up. His left hand is just ridiculous. It's probably one of the best in the game. Pacquiao has a good left hand too, but what Lara does, he throws it so creatively. He throws in so many different ways and variations. It's just ridiculous. I think he can work on his right hand. That will also help his finisher instinct by not only the right, even if it's not as prominent as your left, it'll still, like if you feint with the right and do a couple different things, throw the right a bit more, it'll set up your left, and then that'll help create the knockout. And I also think he should have went to the body. Delvin Rodriguez looked kind of soft in the ring to me, and those are all things that I think he could have easily forced the stoppage. But very dominant performance. I mean, I got to see Lara back in there with the big names, the Ishe Smith, Delvin Rodriguez. They're just not at that level to compete with him. He called out Miguel Cotto, Floyd Mayweather, Triple G. I would like to see a Canelo rematch. I'm okay with any of those fights because those are all good fights. Even Triple G, just to see. I would favor Triple G based on his style and Lara's style, but still I got to see it. I don't just want to, I've been wrong with predictions, so who knows. So dominant performance by Lara. I do think he could have amped it up just a little bit more when you've seen that Delvin Rodriguez couldn't deal with anything that you were doing. Like even after the knockdowns, he most fighters who have a bit more of an offensive mind, like even Adrian Broner, his defense ain't terrible, but if he knocks a guy like Galvin Reese down and he's not at that level, he's going to jump right on you and then force a knockout or a stoppage. And I think Lara could have pressed the action in those spots, at least when you had him hurt and he's getting up off a knockdown. Even in the 11th or 12th round, Delvin Rodriguez put his hands out when he was clearly hurt to try to act like he wasn't hurt. Don't let him do that and regain his senses. Jump right on him right then and there. And I think he could have got the stoppage in this fight. But I can't take anything away from him. But again, I can't, this doesn't really elevate his status because Delvin Rodriguez, I was expecting him to beat Delvin Rodriguez. It really wasn't any match on paper as far as I'm concerned. So Got to see him back in there with the big names. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.